Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing day 3 in our 30 days of stitches, and today we are going over how to do shell stitch. We have 2 different ways to do shell stitch and we're going to go over both of them today. Alright, let's jump in. Alright, so to get started with our shell stitch, I am using my Bernat premium yarn. It's in this lovely lavender color and our 5mm crochet hook. This is one of our ergonomic hooks that are my favorites. They are nice and, they grip really well in my hands and don't go flying when I drop my stitches. So they are one of my favorites and they'll be linked in the description below if you guys want to check those out. Alright, so we're getting started here with a multiple of 6 stitches plus 2 additional ones for our swatch. It's just for anchoring points. If you guys are going to do this one in the round, like for a hat, it's going to be a little bit different. So you're not gonna bother with the extra one at the other end of the row. You're just going to have your 2 for turning. Alright, and now we're doing an anchor row of double crochets just to have a nice base to put our shell stitches into. We're going to do 2 swatches of our shell stitches here, and one of them is going to be our aligned shell stitches, and then we're going to do our offset shell stitches after. So if you guys are looking for that, check the chapters below and you can skip ahead to that one. But I just love both of these, but I do tend to use the aligned ones, the stacked shell stitches. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyways. All right, let's keep going and we will start our shell stitches in a moment. Now, shell stitches are a favorite of mine. I do them all the time in little baby hats, and I've done probably at least, over a dozen times. So I have a couple of pictures. I'll show you a finished one so you guys can get an idea of what this pattern should look like. All right, so here's our first row, all double crochets, and we are chaining 2 at the beginning of the row, and now we are going to work our shell stitch. So for this pattern, we are going to skip 2 stitches and double crochet into the 3rd. So our pattern for shell stitches is 2 double crochets and then a chain and 2 double crochets. You may also wish to do your shell stitches as 5 double crochets. That's fine too. For these aligned ones, we're going to skip 4 stitches after our shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and do that again into the 5th stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th one again. Okay, so there's our next shell. All right, so we've got this great little shell happening here, and we're going to skip over 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so here we are finishing off our row. So shell stitches to begin with, our aligned stitch is going to be multiples of 5 stitches plus 2 at the end and beginning of the row, and our turning chains. So we're starting off our next row with a chain 2, turning our work around, and now we're going to work our shell right into the chain in the center of the previous shell. So it's again, same pattern, 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets, and we're going to keep working like that across this row. Now, if you're doing this in the round, you're not going to worry about the double crochet at the end of the row, but for working flat like this, we're going to anchor with an extra double crochet at the end of the row. Now, if you want to use this as like a blanket pattern, you may want to add 2 double crochets at the end of the row. That's completely up to you, just to kind of give yourself even a little bit more anchoring point. And there is what our shells look like when we get a couple of rows of shells like that. All right, so now let's go back and do the offset version of our shells. All right, so now I'm grabbing another color to do our offset shells, and this one's going to be slightly different. We're going to use multiples of 6 stitches, and then we're going to add our 3 at the end for turning and our anchoring double crochet at the end of the row. So that is going to be multiples of 6 plus 3. So this one we're going to do in 21 stitches. All right, and then we're going to double crochet into each of the stitches just like we did for the first one. All right, So there we have an anchoring row of double crochets for the bottom of our swatch. So we're starting with a chain one at the beginning of the row. This is going to work as a single crochet that belongs between each of our shells. So we skip 2 stitches and work 5 double crochets. Now you can do this the way that we did the aligned ones earlier, that you can put the chain in the middle of the shell. It's completely up to you whether or not you want to do that. I'm going to do it here with the full shells, that way you can see what that looks like. And then when we offset them, it's going to make a difference, okay? So I'll show you in just a moment. So skip 2 more stitches, single crochet, skip 2, and then 5 more double crochets into the third. And again, this is 5 double crochets for a shell. All right, now the single crochets between our stitches are going to work as an anchoring point for the offset shells for the next row. Okay, and then we're gonna skip 2, single crochet, and then we're gonna half double crochet at the end of the row to finish it off. We want to do 2 chains. We're gonna do our next shell into the single crochet here, but because we're right at the end of the row, we're just gonna do 3 double crochets to kind of finish off half of a shell. All right, and then we skip 2 stitches, so we're skipping 1 and 2 into the top of the shell in the previous row, single crochet, and then we're going to skip down into the single crochet between our next 2 shells. And this one, again, 5 double crochets. This is a full shell. So single crochet in the top of this shell here, and then we're going to skip over again and put another shell into the bottom, into the single crochet. So another full shell, which is 5 double crochets. All right, so now if we change colors, it's going to turn into a little bit more of like a wave pattern, and that might be exactly what you're looking for. It's kind of this like really subtle wave, and that's what our offset shells look like. So I will add a couple more rows and then I'll show you probably a couple of rows. So that's our offset shells. So we're going to keep working. So I will include the written pattern for this one in the blog post, which is linked in the description below, and you guys can check that out there. And there you have it with our shell stitch. This is day 3 in our 30 stitches in 30 days. If you click this video on the screen here on the day that this video goes live, it'll take you back to the beginning of our 30 days of stitches, and you can watch them from the beginning. And if this is past that day, then you will see the next day in the series, which is our waistcoat stitch in this spot on the screen. We'll see you next time.